So the question is, who should be running Chaos Trials? Well, if you find that you're not able to map efficiently, or maybe you are dying once every couple of maps, I think you could immensely benefit from running Chaos Trials instead of wasting your time on maps. Maps are only worth it if you are able to run maps very efficiently with a very high-end build, and at the same time you have about 150% increased magic find. If you find yourself unable to map efficiently, and I'm talking about around 5 minutes per map. When I say 5 minutes, I mean like the normal maps that you're just like running through, not like the really juiced up ones with everything with Ritual, Delirium, and Breach. Obviously, those are going to take much longer, and you do want to take your time with those because you don't want to risk dying and losing like an hour of trying to juice up your map. So when I say 5 minutes or less per map, I'm talking about the traveling nodes that you're just trying to clear as fast as possible. For those maps, you should be clearing in about 5 minutes. If you have the right build, some of the maps can be cleared in 2 to 3 minutes. And that does not require Temporalis at all. I'm personally not running Temporalis, but some of the maps I can clear in 2 to 3 minutes. Some are taking 4 to 5 minutes. So you can experiment to see how many maps you can run in 15 minutes without dying. Why 15 minutes? Because that is the average time to finish a Chaos Trial run. So if you are taking say 7, 8 or even 10 minutes like I did last time to run a map, then in that 15 minutes you can actually run one Chaos Trial, which would actually net you a lot more profit than you would in a map. Because if you are taking 10 minutes per map, it's very likely that your gear is not up to standard yet, and maybe you don't even have increased magic find, in which case the maps you're going to be running are wasted, so to speak. You might as well wait till you have better gear and higher magic find before you actually invest in those maps. And if a map takes you more than 5 minutes, you can only run 2 to 3 maps. And if you have been running maps, you would know that 2 to 3 maps earn you practically nothing because there are so many maps in between the maps that we really want to run. You might even go an entire day without, getting one Divine Orb if your gear is just not up to the standard yet. So if you're not getting good drops due to your lack of magic find, or you're running way too slowly because you have magic find but you are having survivability issues and you're trying to take it slower, then you're not being efficient. In this case, it's actually way better for you to just run Chaos Trials, even though it can be more boring than maps. But the good thing is you don't have to do it for a really long time, and you don't have to do it the entire day. You can always run a few of them, go back to doing whatever you want. Maybe you want to run a Breach map, and then when you feel satisfied with that, you can go back to running your Chaos Trial. So mapping is actually really kind of sweaty in this game, unlike in PoE 1 where you can breeze through. If you are really juicing up a node, it's really sweaty, right? And you might not survive the entire map, you might die. There's no worse feeling than, having a Divine Orb drop or a Perfect Jeweler's Orb drop, and then you die. I'm sure it has happened to us once or twice, and the feeling is immensely horrendous, and it just makes you want to quit playing the game the entire day. So instead of taking that risk and, wasting your time, wasting your experience, wasting your waystones, just run Chaos Trial. I swear to you, it's gonna be worth it. Do take note that these are recommendations for a highly efficient run. It doesn't mean that you cannot run, but it will be slower because this guy is not focused on clearing your Chaos Trial for your ascendancy points. You have a different strategy for that when you're lower level. This guy is for clearing Chaos Trial immensely efficiently so that you are able to net the highest profit possible in a very short time frame, because we don't want to spend our entire Exile life running Chaos Trial. We want to get to the juicy mapping part and running Breachstones and Simulacrum and all that good stuff. So highly recommended, but not essential. The first component is having a Chaos Inoculation build. This one is highly recommended, although it's not as essential as the others. Why Chaos Inoculation? It's because there are actually quite a number of monsters in Chaos Trial that actually do chaos damage, and on top of that you actually have the Chaos Modifiers, which give monsters extra 20% and 40% chaos damage. It is immensely dangerous to take those mods if you don't have Chaos Inoculation. On the other hand, if you have Chaos Inoculation, those mods are practically free and a lot of monsters simply don't do any damage to you. This one, having a CI build highly increases your survivability because you just don't want to die at this entry level farming method. I do die sometimes because I was forced to take several deadly combination of modifiers. Having Chaos Inoculation actually increases your survivability so much more because Chaos simply doesn't do any damage to you. The second requirement, and this one I do feel that it is a requirement, is that you are able to either one-shot bosses or you have some form of immobilization such as time freeze, pinning, or electrocution. This is absolutely essential for efficient runs. Two of the bosses in this Chaos Trial are actually designed to, waste your time. Out of the 3 bird bosses, 2 of them will fly away if you give them the chance to. So you either have to one-shot them and just kill them instantly the moment they can be attacked, or you are able to freeze them and then kill them during that period to prevent them from flying away, because once they fly away, they take some time to come back. I'm sure you already know this, but the infamous Chimera monster is designed to waste your time. Hooksmall flies away multiple times and goes you faster than your Tinder date. It flies away almost instantly after it appears. Sometimes in less than a second, it will immediately fly away, and you have to spend 30 seconds looking for it. Sometimes it just doesn't go where you think it goes, and then it will fly away again after encountering you again, which is why that monster is the one that drops Cowardly Fragment. Because of its relative ease and lottery style kind of loot from Chaos Trial, it is intentionally designed to limit how fast you can run it. Which is why there are, a number of stages that are designed to be timed, and you are not able to go faster than what the game intends you to run. This round, such as the survive for 1 minute and 30 seconds, or the escort, or even the sacrificial one, all these are timed directly or indirectly. You are not able to go faster than what the game intends you to. You can go slower, but you cannot go faster. And because these rounds and 2 of the bosses are designed to waste your time, being able to complete those stages and kill the bosses within the shortest time possible is absolutely essential to running Chaos Trial very efficiently. The next requirement is actually having Blink. It saves a lot of time for the traveling. If you haven't noticed, between rounds, there are actually very long hallways that you have to travel before you reach the next stage. All this time actually really adds up, and if you have Blink, you can actually save so much more time. And there is actually a certain stage which is so much easier if you have Blink. I will be showcasing this round later and how I complete them with the shortest time possible. In the following section, I will be showcasing some of the more complex rounds, and I will be sharing some tips on how you can complete them as fast as possible. And that is why I'm able to actually run my Chaos Trials in 12 minutes or even lesser. My shortest time for a round is actually 10 minutes and 36 seconds. On the average, they actually take 15 to 16 minutes to complete one round. And I'm actually able to do that in 3 to 5 minutes lesser. The next requirement is a huge quality of life upgrade, and it will shave minutes off your Chaos Trial run, and that is using the Chronomancer ascendancy. In my previous video, I shared about how Chronomancer is in a really bad state. However, I have found that Chronomancer is actually immensely suitable for Chaos Trial. In the following section, I will be showing you why it's so powerful. If you didn't know, the order of the rounds in Chaos Trial actually follows the same pattern. I'm going to leave this here. Feel free to pause the video and, take a screenshot or something, or just look it up. The Chaos Trial proceed in the same order every time. The rounds with the soul cards, which is the round 3 and 6, those are the rounds that we can actually save a lot of time with Blink and Temporal Rift with Chronomancer. So now, as I promised, I will be showcasing how I complete a round of retrieving the soul cores in a highly efficient manner. The average time for me to complete a soul core round is actually about a minute, sometimes even faster, depending on the layout that I'm given. Without Blink and Temporal Rift, you will actually take a lot longer because you have to go all the way back. As for the other rounds, there are no way of saving time, you just really have to complete them. This is designed to not let the players complete it too fast. And this is the stage rankings. This is purely my own opinion, however I do feel like everyone should be more or less on the same page regarding the different stages. Except for the soul cores, I used to hate soul core rounds so much because they actually waste so much time. However, ever since I adopted my strategy of using Chronomancer and Temporal Rift, it has become my absolute favorite round because it is the fastest round beside the bosses for me to complete it, and whenever I get soul core rounds, I save so much time. So on the S tier, we have the soul cores and the bosses simply because they are incredibly easy to complete, especially the bosses. You should be one-shotting the bosses in the current game environment. I'm not sure how this is going to be changed after the new patches come around, so we will reveal our strategy when the time comes, but for now, the bosses and the soul cores are the top tier, S tier rounds. And then of course the A tier would be slaying all the monsters. The round is complete as fast as you can slay the monsters, so this is absolutely something that you can save a lot of time with. And the best thing is these rounds are fixed, so you will definitely get them. However, why they are not S tier to me is because some of the monsters actually try to charge towards you, and sometimes, you know, when you blink, you don't see them and then they end up in some weird corner and then you have to go all the way back to kill that one or two monsters. So I absolutely, hate when that happens. So just be really careful when you are in this round and just make sure that you kill every monster before you proceed forward. And next in the B tier, we have the timer survival and sacrificial ritual. These ones are pretty much time and there's nothing immensely bad or positive about it. So, they're pretty average. B tier, nothing much you can do, you just have to kill all the monsters until the time is up. And if you're not using Chronomancer, I would put soul cores at C tier because it just wastes so much time. Especially if you get the ones that require you to operate the switches again and again, and it's very confusing. I just hate that round so much if I'm not using Chronomancer. And skipping D tier and E tier, we have the F tier because Escort is just everyone's bane. Everyone hates it. There's no debate, no discussion. There's no good thing about it. Whenever I die, it's always the Escort round. Escort round has like really narrow pathways. And you can see escort round actually has a 50% chance of occurring at round 9, which is right before the bosses, which means you have already taken 9 modifiers, and if you're not careful, sometimes you end up taking a very lethal combination of modifiers and escort, and their narrow hallways can absolutely land you in hot water. I truly believe that I've died the most during escort rounds. And it's just incredibly annoying that it's, walking at like 1 mile per hour. And now I'm going to be, showing the modifiers ranking list. Again, this is my personal opinion after running it so many times. We have one modifier that I personally believe is actually a benefit and not a disadvantage. So on the positive modifiers ranking list, we actually have the rare monsters. This to me is a positive modifier and not a bad modifier because it actually gives you more rare monsters, which means you have a higher chance of getting more valuable drops. It's really not a lot, it's very minimal benefits. However, to me, it still belongs to the positive simply because it increases the valuable drops probability. When you have a build that one-shots bosses, having a couple more rare monsters isn't gonna change anything. And in the next tier, we have the free tier, which means, stuff that you can take for free. It doesn't really affect anything. Obviously, the one that I talked about, if you have Chaos Inoculation, you can take Chaotic Monsters and Toxic Monsters. Those are, instantly free if you have Chaos Inoculation. And for Toxic Monsters, the one where the monsters will poison you, even if you don't have a Chaos Inoculation build, I believe that it still belongs in the free category simply because most monsters are not going to be hitting you, they're going to die the moment they see you. As you may have noticed, the pattern of modifiers that are free are generally the modifiers that enhances the abilities of the monsters themselves. Stuff like entangling monsters, chaotic monsters, toxic monsters, monster speed, and all these modifiers actually buff the monsters, which are free because most of the time they're not going to be touching you anyway. They're going to die the moment they see you. And even if they do hit you a couple of times, you should have enough defenses to not let them kill you. And of course, the enraged bosses is absolutely free as well because you're going to be one-shotting them anyway. So of course, there are several modifiers that may be detrimental to your build. Like if you're using a ranger, you're shooting projectiles, obviously don't take a lesson reach. You just have to be the one to decide whether a modifier cripples your build or not. If it cripples your build, then of course, by all means, avoid it. However, all this stuff are generally free. And then we have the next tier, which is the minimal harm. Stuff that, deal you a little bit of damage. They're not really lethal and, you can avoid them. Stuff like deadly monsters, 300% critical hit monsters, I do put it in minimal harm instead of free because sometimes you might catch yourself in a bad situation and, monsters just end up critting you a lot of times. So minimal harm, but generally they should not be damaging you too much in the first place. Next up, we have stuff that you should only take if it's unavoidable. So as you can see from the list, these are modifiers that adds a lot of things to your map. So like hot ladders, rank 2, not only do you get stunned, but during that period, you also take extra damage. And stuff like damage defenses is honestly quite crippling because 40% of your defenses is a lot. And it's like all defenses. So even if you are a hybrid between evasion and energy shield, they get reduced 40% each. It's honestly quite crippling and I don't recommend taking it. So stalking shade is situational. If you are, in the early stages, I would say if you're before stage 7, do avoid stalking shade. I just don't like feeling, that sense of pressure and always having to watch out for it. It just makes an otherwise chill Chaos Trial run into a sweaty run. I don't want to feel the pressure, which is why I'm running Chaos Trial. Honestly, this is like having someone breathing down your neck and I don't want that. If I want that, I will be at work, not here. So I don't want that. I just want to chill, which is why I'm doing the Chaos Trial, right? So in the next tier, which is, we're getting sweaty now, is Impending Doom, which is the one that has a timer, and once it reaches that timer, you could be taking a huge AoE physical damage. I really hate that. The damage is actually quite severe. absolutely avoid the pyramid beams as well. I have taken it once and I died almost instantaneously, even though it's a duration over time. It really stacks up. In the last tier, the worst tier, the avoid at all costs tier, we have the Volatile Fiends. This is hands down the most dangerous modifier. A lot of the modifiers are not life-threatening by themselves, except for, I would say, Pyramid Beams and Volatile Fiends. So like, a lot of them are only lethal when they work in combination with other stuff like escalating damage taken and petrification, and then you get hit by lightning runes that can absolutely be deadly for you if you get caught in all of them. However, like 90% of the stuff are not dangerous by themselves. Only Pyramid Beams and Volatile Fiends are the ones that are absolutely dangerous, even by themselves. Volatile Fiends absolutely should be avoided. You can take anything else. I can guarantee you, anything else you take would be better than Volatile Fiends. The explosion that comes out when you kill a bunch of monsters is incredibly quick. They are very quick to trigger and they hurt a lot. If you have a very efficient build, it means you'll be killing 10-20 monsters at the same time and they will absolutely blow up in your face. I took it once because I thought I could handle it. I could not. I just died instantaneously. So whatever you do, avoid Volatile Fiends. If you do take it by accident and if your survivability is not as strong, I would recommend you to just quit the trial and save your 10% experience. Unless you already have an escapade waiting for you, then you can try taking that risk. However, in other situations, you should just quit the trial if you accidentally pick Volatile Fiends, which happened to me once because I thought it was the last boss, so I just picked Volatile Fiends, just to be cheeky, and it turned out that I remembered wrongly because when you do 10-20 trials at the same time, you just kind of lose track of it all. And it turns out that it wasn't the last boss, it was the first boss, and Volatile Fiends eventually killed me. So as I mentioned, most of them are not life-threatening by themselves, except for Corrupted Damage and Volatile Fiend. So you have to keep in mind which combinations you should be avoiding for your build. And in general, for example, if you take Time Paradox, then do avoid Petrification, because I have taken Time Paradox and Petrification before and I got frozen for like 4 seconds. It's really bad. If you took one, just avoid taking the other modifiers that are lethal with the ones that you have already taken. So for this Chaos Trial, we're not actually addressing the boss fight, which is fighting the Trialmaster, because the fragments are actually worth a lot and you actually require one of each fragment, and one of those fragments costs a lot. And the Trialmaster is not like an easy fight because he has a lot of health and it takes quite a while to kill him if you don't have the right build. So do not attempt the Trialmaster. Just farm for the fragments and the soul cores and sell them. I guarantee you're gonna make way more profit than fighting the Trialmaster. Fighting the Trialmaster is only worth it if you have a lot of currencies and you're trying to get those uniques. So now we have come to the end of the Chaos Trial guide. I really hope this helps the new players out, especially because the game is still in early access. I'm sure a lot of new blood is going to be coming into the game, and this game is incredibly complex, and it's only recently that I managed to farm up. When I started doing Chaos Trials seriously, I had about like 2 or 3 Divine Orbs, I'm not kidding. Obviously I did spend like some Divine Orbs on my gear, but in my inventory I had about 2 to 3 Divines, and I was nowhere near at the level of farming any rituals or breach, and it was getting really frustrating because I was mapping and it was really sweaty and I kept dying, and I was just like, why am I doing this to myself? So I went to Chaos Trial and started farming because I knew like I could handle Chaos Trial. So I didn't actually record my profits from that first batch because I didn't know that I was gonna make so much profit just from farming Chaos Trial. After I sold everything, I think I had more than 10 divines. I really wished I kept an inventory of my profits at that time. I really regret it. But basically I had about 3 escapas. I had a really good drop rate. I was incredibly lucky. I had about 3, and at that time it was actually going for 3.5 Divine Orbs per escapa, and I had 3. I easily made over 10 divines. Just from the soul cores and selling all the fragments, I probably made way more than 10 divines, I don't remember. What I do remember is that after I sold everything, I had a lot of currencies that I could upgrade my entire gear. I had much better survivability, I had higher energy shield, I had higher magic find, I could afford ingenuity bout, and I was able to farm maps way more efficiently. So I highly recommend doing Chaos Trial if you are new, and you don't even have to do like 100 of them. You can do 20, 30 and just sell all of them, and that actually should be enough to propel you towards a high-end gear to farm your maps properly. So once again, I really hope that this helps the new players out, because it took me way too long to figure this out. And the answer was so simple, it's just to farm Chaos Trial. I actually believe that Chaos Trial is one of the best implemented designs in this game because of how it's moderated. We might find it really annoying to have all these timed rounds where you have to survive for a minute and 30 seconds, escort the statues. Like, it feels really annoying, but all of these are actually really beneficial for the newer players, because the newer players are not able to have efficient gear for mapping. However, at the same time, veteran players who have insane gear is not able to farm Chaos Trial efficiently as well. There's only so much you can do to improve your duration, and I truly believe that my build is already maximizing that. Aside from having a Temporalis, I really don't see how you can further maximize the efficiency. But if you have Temporalis, honestly, you're wasting your time farming Chaos Trial. So I do believe that my Chronomancer build is the best build for Chaos Trial. Although obviously I don't recommend building an entire character just to farm Chaos Trial. Unless this is your kink, then you know, I'm not gonna shame you for that. But yeah, I hope this helps, and if you really like this guy and you think that it's gonna help you out, please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.